Hi, and welcome back to the Popular Woodworking Shop. I'm Steve Shanesy, and I'm here to present the last episode of our Unisaw refurbish and restoration project. I thought it would be interesting this time to really compare what the original Unisaw looked like that we've been working on and the new model, because there really are serious differences. This model, made in 1944, was about its 5th year of production. This design of this saw stayed in use for nearly 70 years. And this model was introduced in 2008. So let's take a look at some of the important features that really changed and brought this model into the 21st century. So one of the obvious differences between the two models is how the blade rises and tilts. Now traditionally, all saws had the raising mechanism in the front here and the tilt mechanism on the side. Delta's brought both of those features to the front of the machine on the new Unisaw. Here you have the raising mechanism, and right beside it is the tilt mechanism. That's a handy feature. So now let's look at how the blade raises and lowers. The traditional mechanism has the blade actually pivoting in an arc as it raises and lowers. On the traditional model, this is where the splitter and blade guard would connect below the table and then also back here on the outfeed side. I'm still looking for the parts to put that feature together. So a really great safety feature and a convenience on this new Unisaw model is the addition of a riving knife. This was a traditional safety feature on European saws that was introduced starting in America about 3 or 4 years ago. It simply clips in and out very quickly, and the blade guard would attach over the top of this. Now, to raise and lower this blade, this mechanism actually travels up and down on posts. So the motion of the blade is straight up and down. And as you can see, the riving knife stays in the same position relative to the blade. On this old model, the switch is located down here below the table, and while you can get to it, isn't as convenient as on the new model, which we'll look at in just a minute. Of course, this switch is also not a magnetic switch, so that would be another second safety feature. Now let's look at the new Unisaw switch. It's been relocated over here to the left and directly below the fence rail. This is a real safety feature because, first of all, you can use your left hand to switch off the machine, even if you were in the midst of a cut, or you could also bump it off using your knee. So there are several other significant features between these two models. First of all, as was traditional on most table saws, this old unit has a right tilt mechanism, meaning the blade is going to tilt into the fence most of the time when you're making an angle cut. The new saw, and other saws have this feature too, is a left tilt. So that blade is going to tilt away from the fence, which makes a safer condition when you're cutting angles with the fence on that side of the blade. I'd also like to point out that this new Unisaw has what looks to be, and in fact is, a substantially larger cast iron top. It's about 4 inches larger on both dimensions than is the old saw. Now the motors are quite different. We've had a good look inside this old motor, and I've explained it's made far differently from a modern motor. This motor on the new saw is available in either a 3 or a 5 horsepower option, depending on your voltage and single-phase or 3-phase operation. This motor, while a strong 1-horse motor, really doesn't have the power that the newer motor has. Now, the last thing I'd like to point out are the difference in fences. I'm sure many of you have seen the Biesemeyer fence and this style T-square fence that virtually all saws come with today. Far different from this style fence. Now, before we wrap up, I would just like to add that I think one of the major upgrades to this saw would be adding a Biesemeyer fence like we have on modern saws today. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, we got the Biesemeyer fence all installed, and it's going to be a pleasure to operate. Just look how smoothly this thing slides back and forth. And of course, these hairlines to read our dimensions are a big convenience. That just about wraps up our Unisaw restoration project. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned a few things. I know I have. Taking that motor apart and getting it going was a real learning experience for me. I'd encourage you, if you hadn't seen the prior episodes, to go back to popularwoodworking.com and take a look, because you'll learn something there, I'm sure. I now have to get busy making a table board here, and other than that, I just wanted to say thanks for stopping by and taking a look at these videos. It's been fun.